Hi, I'm Ashton, and in this video, we're going to learn how to make a macrame plant hanger. If you bought my kit online, thank you. Everything is tied and ready for you to go. All you'll need is a basic ruler and some scissors for later on. If you kind of just stumbled across this video, the link below will take you to a DIY kit so that you can make this macrame plant hanger. It has a little disco, some crystals in the middle, super cute, super fun, and also very beginner friendly. If you've never done macrame before, this project will probably take you anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. If you've done macrame, you can finish this project in about 30 minutes to an hour. Just know you don't have to have all that time off the bat. Just stop in a place where it's easy to jump back in later. But after you're done, please take a photo of your finished product. I would love to see your macrame plant hangers and tag me on any of these platforms. But let's go ahead, find a space where you can hang up your macrame cords, and it's easy to work like at arm's length just so it's comfortable. First, we're going to divide out the sections. There will be 4 sections, 4 cords in each section. When you're dividing the cords, just make sure that it makes sense and they lay together nicely. We're only going to be working with one section at a time, so you can get the other sections out of the way. And as you can see, I noticed that one cord worked better with the other section, so you'll just see as you divide it out which cord should be in each section. Also, make sure that the chain in the middle stays in the middle. This is where we're going to hang the crystals and the disco ball after we're done. Starting on our first section, we're going to begin tying a square knot sonnet. The 2 most outer cords are going to be our working cords, and the 2 in the middle are the filler cords. You're going to take the right cord, bringing it to the front and making a backwards 4, and the left cord in the back making a 4 shape. You bring the left cord through the loop to the front you made on the right, and the right cord goes to the back through the loop you made on the left. Then you will pull the working cords up the filler cords to the top. Our first knots, we wanted to be tight and up at the very top, making sure there is no gap. Now we'll bring the left working cord to the front, making a 4, bring it through the loop to the to the back, and the right cord will be the backwards 4, making the loop and bringing it to the front. Now we'll be doing the same thing again and again by just switching which cord goes in the front. Now we'll bring the left working cord to the front, making a 4, and bringing it through the loop to the back. The right cord will make the backwards 4 and bringing it through the loop to the front. Pull it up the filler cords right up next to the first knot. Now we'll be doing the same thing again and again, just by switching what cord goes in front. In total, we'll be making 20 square knots. If this is your first time making square knots, just know you can always undo it if you don't like the look or you forgot to switch sides of the working cords. The more square knots you make, the better they will look. The tension matters and you want it to be even in every knot, and that just takes practice. If this is your first time doing macrame, just use the first section as practice. You can always come back to it and redo it if you really need to. Once you're done with the first section and have 20 square knots, move on to the next section and do the same thing over again, making sure that you pull the first knots up to the very top and that there's no gap. Remember, we're doing 20 square knots in each section. If you lose count or you weren't counting in the first place, don't worry, you can easily count your knots. After you have 20 square knots in each of the sections, make sure all the sections are the same length. You can loosen or tighten the last couple knots, sliding them up or down. Just make sure they are all even. Once you're happy with the top, we're going to move to the middle section of the plant hanger. From your last knot above, we're going to do a 6-inch gap until our next knot. So you can use a ruler or you can eyeball it, but we're going to be doing a half square knot, which is the same concept as we did above. We're just not going to switch which cord goes in front. So take the rightermost cord in front and make it into the backwards 4, and the left cord into the 4 figure, bringing the left cord through the loop to the front, and the right cord will go through the loop to the back. Now before I make my second knot, I do just bring the ruler back and I make sure that I do have that 6-inch gap, and you can easily just move it up or down or just readjust it. We will be doing 15 half square knots. Now when you're making this spiral, just remember that you are the one guiding the knot. Once you have 15 half square knots in the first section, go ahead and move on to your second section, leaving that 6-inch gap, which you can easily measure just with the first section that you did, lining it up to the first knot. Now remember, when you are doing these half square knots, that you are the one that is guiding the knot. We want to keep the right working cord going in front each time. And the trick to the perfect spiral is to pay attention when the knot has gone around once and the right working cord has now become the left cord. I have it slowed down in this video. As you can see, the right working cord now goes to the left, and then you're making that spiral. You may just be doing this automatically because it does just spiral alone. You don't have to be paying much attention to it, and I don't want you to get confused by this, but just something to pay attention to. The first spiral may come out a little wonky if you've never done it before, but just keep practicing. After you have 15 half square knots in all the sections, make sure they are all even, and we'll move on to the last section. Now we are going to move into the last part of the plant hanger. This is the section that holds the pot, so if you're wanting a certain pot, you can just adjust the measurements that I give you. So I just grab that pot and make sure you have it handy to make sure it fits. I have found that we do a 4-inch gap, a 3-inch gap, and then another 3-inch gap, and that fits my small to medium pots, which are about 2 to 5 inches in diameter. So as you see, I just grabbed 2 sections that are near each other, and then I'm gonna measure 4 inches. We don't want all 6 cords, so the 4 inner cords we use, and then we're gonna do a square knot. So you take the outermost right and the outermost left, and you make that square knot. Now just remember that you're almost done with the plant hanger, and this is the hardest part for me when I first started making plant hangers, so just know that you can always come back to this and try not to get frustrated. After making that first square knot, we're going to move to the left and take the next section. Take the 2 cords that were in the section that we just did, but we didn't use, and grab the next section and use the rightermost cords. Always start the square knot by putting the most outer right cord in front. And you're going to be doing this process all around so they're all tied together. Just remember that we're doing a 4-inch gap from that half square sonnet. After you have finished the square knots with the 4-inch gap in all of the sections, just make sure that it all lines up and it's all even, because that will affect the next knots that we're going to do. So these are the last 4 knots that you have to tie. You're almost there. So we're just going to be doing the same thing again, grabbing the sections. We're going to be doing a 3-inch gap from the knot above. From the square knot above, you measure 3 inches in the filler cords and do a square knot again. And remember, always doing the outermost right cord in front, followed by the left. After you've made that first square knot with the 3-inch gap, you can just make the rest of the square knots in the sections line up to that one. Just make sure that all of the sections are lining up to that one square knot. Always grabbing the rightermost cord in front first. And once you have the sections all tied with that 3-inch gap square knot, that's when we'll test our pot. The next part we tie will determine how the pot fits, either up or down. So that's why I just recommend testing the pot before you move on to the next section. You're going to need that extra cord that was in your kit and some scissors. I'm going to show you how we're going to tie this before we actually tie it around the actual macrame. So you're going to use your thumb to anchor it, and then your fingers is what creates the space, so you can make sure that there's a loop at the bottom where it will go. So I'm showing you how to tie the end of the plant hanger, which by the way is how you tie the top of a plant hanger that was already done for you. So you're going to grab your cord, place your hand where you want your pot to be held. Mine is a 3-inch gap from the last square knot that we did. Now if you're using a bigger pot, I recommend going down, I would say maybe 5 inches. If it's a smaller pot, you could do a 2-inch gap. Like I said, I'm doing a 3-inch gap. Grab the cord, place your thumb where that where you want it to start. Make sure that there's a little bit at the top because you're going to be pulling that later. So anchor it with your thumb, go around, I'm going to go around 11 times to be exact. Keep it tight for sure. And at the very end, you're going to put the end through the loop and you're going to pull the top of the cord, which will tighten the loop and create the knot. You don't want to pull so tight that it undoes the knot at the top. Just pull it so it goes underneath the ties that we just did. Perfect. Now before we move on, I would test that pot again, and if something happened, if your pot didn't work out, you can cut the bottom that we just tied. It's fine, just don't cut the actual cord, just cut the tie that you just did and you can redo it again. And then you can just use the extra cord that you have at the end of the macrame to do the tie, since you don't have an extra cord. But once your pot fits, you're gonna cut the excess, you're gonna push in the excess with the scissors so you can't see it, and we are going to make the tassel at the bottom. I do a tassel that is about 6 inches, usually 4 to 6 inches is what I do. And last but not least, we are going to hang on the little crystals and the disco ball at the very end. I hope you love your design. I hope the plant hanger makes you happy every time you look at it. Please, please, please take a photo and send it to me. I would love to see the finished product.